Hello again, welcome. I'm Angela Horenik from Diamond Thought, a business that is working towards transforming consciousness for people through meditations, through presentations, through videos, also through publishing and creation of CDs. So this video is about patience, the third in a series of 6 videos dealing with the 6 virtuous actions of an awakening being. Last time we talked about moral discipline and ethics, and the first one we were dealing with generosity. And each of these paramitas or virtuous actions are leading one on top of the other. But before I even get into any more content, let us first set an intention for today. So what I want you to do is I want you to put your pens and paper down. I want your feet to be parallel to one another on the ground. I want you to just close your eyes for a moment and just begin to breathe with intention, breathing in and breathing out. Some of you have rushed home from work. Some of you are listening to this while you're making dinner. Some of you may be listening to this in your car. So I just want you to bring yourself into some state of calm and focusing just for a moment on the tip of your nose. And I want you to just in your heart set an intention. Set an intention for what it is that you would like to obtain in these next 20 minutes. And what you want to do as well is call in any light beings into the room that you're sitting in. These can be Buddhas, this can be Jesus or Mary, Allah, this can be the sun, the moon. Call those energies in right now to be with you, to protect you, and to guide you. If you have a teacher, call that teacher in as well. Just settling into your heart. Taking a moment and applauding yourself for giving yourself this time to listen and to learn more about the mind. Great. So today we're talking about patience, the third of 6 virtuous actions. And I'd like to begin with a quote from the Buddhist scholar Shantideva. How could you find enough leather to cover the ground? Having leather on the soles of your sandals is the same as covering the whole earth. This quote is one of my very, very favorites because it speaks directly to the fact that there is no way that we can go out into the world and control everybody else, everything else, all our circumstances and our experiences. But what we do have control over is our own mind. So if we cover the soles of our own feet with leather, if we take care of our own mindfulness and our own practicing patience, then when we go out in the world, we won't be disturbed. The fact of the matter is that we need others to practice patience. We need those experiences in life in order for patience to be cultivated. We cannot cultivate this virtuous action without other people grading on us. And we say in Buddhism, to make a beautiful piece of driftwood, You can't do it with silk. You need sandpaper. So patience is one of those practices that is like sandpaper against our being. The opposite to patience is any negative affliction, any negative emotion, any negative delusion. So that is what we are trying to transform into patience. All right? Jealousy, anger, being coveting of something. Any of those negativities, attachment to something or someone. We're trying to turn those around and apply the antidote, which is patience. So we always need an object. We always need something in mind in order to transform it into patience. We swallow poison and then we turn it around with our mindfulness practices and we create bliss. So to begin, why do we have to practice? Why do we have to practice patience? Why do we have to practice virtuous ethics or generosity? Because we're moving along a path towards our own enlightenment. And why do we have to become enlightened? So that we can help other sentient beings. We were brought to the planet, each and every one of us, to serve in our highest way, not just in a modicum, but in our grandest version of the greatest vision of who we truly are. And those of us who are on the path, you've practiced generosity, you've been giving, you've been receiving good things, you've been receiving monetary recompense. All this generosity has returned to you. You've been practicing ethics. You've been watching your body, your speech, and your mind around what you say, what you do, and what you think. You've been honest. You haven't been coveting. You haven't been slanderous. You haven't been gossiping. So you've got all those ethics in place. And now, bigger experiences start happening. All right? People start to trust you. You start having a community around you. And then there's not a backlash necessarily, but bigger delusions start to appear. So that is why patience needs to be cultivated. And here we're going to start on a little bit of a physiology, a little biology lesson. Anger ignites in us through a very animal response. Okay, we've got 3 responses in our being. We are hardwired as animals. And there's a part of our brain right at the back. It's called the amygdala. Okay? And this amygdala is the oldest part of our being. Now, when we are frightened in any way, if we're experiencing fear, we will go into 3 biologically wired responses. Fight, flight, or we'll freeze. All right? These are animal responses. The kicker is that really and truly, these responses were given to us when we were under threat of our survival. And what that means is that there was a tiger out there that was going to come and eat us, right? Or there was an elephant going to stamp us to death. And those animal responses of fight, flight, or freeze were given to us so that we wouldn't die. The thing is, in this 21st century, there are no physical threats in the Western world that are going to kill us. What is going to kill us is our mind and the fear that we continuously ruminate about around, we don't have enough money. What about this? I need that. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not fast enough. These are all fear-based delusions. And this is where the practice of patience comes in. Because while we're in the fight, flight, freeze mode, when we're getting kicked into this adrenaline place inside of us, the adrenaline is moving through us and we cannot make a positive or a good decision because our left side of our brain is just going through A to B, finding the quickest route from A to B to get us out of our danger. And that's the left side of our brain, which is very, very rational. But in order to make a proper and a good decision, we have to elicit the right side of our brain, which is our perception, our intuition, right? That creative part of our being. And when the left and the right sides of our brain are talking to each other, we move into our heart. We drop into our heart space. And when we drop into our heart and we are patient, all manner of things start to manifest. Western world now is almost like adrenaline junkies. We don't even know what it feels like to be calm and relaxed, right? So when we're running with adrenaline and we're in fear and we're being a fear-based reality, running, we're not achieving the results of bliss, of harmony, of interconnectedness, and we're certainly not practicing patience with ourselves or with others. We're in control mode, all right? And there is no need to control. We can allow other people to be exactly who they are and exactly how they are. I want to talk a little bit about the 3 kinds of patience that one should practice. So the first type of patience is not retaliating or remaining calm in the face of an attacker, a verbal attack. Obviously with a physical attack, we have to retaliate on some level, take care of self. However, this is about not reacting to harm or abuse from others, whether the abuse is coming intentionally or not. Okay, so the practice of this kind of patience is about not hitting back. We kind of absorb it, and we also surrender to higher powers in a higher place, believing that our karma or our actions, the causes and conditions that caused this person to attack us, they're going to reap the benefits, the negative benefits, or the negative drawbacks of their actions. So the first type of practice that we need to put into place is not to retaliate against somebody who's attacking us. We can rely on others to come to our defense. Okay? The second type of patience that we need to practice is the acceptance of suffering. And what we mean by that is when we're up against difficulties and hardships of either the mundane or the spiritual nature, we accept what we are going through. We don't push back. We don't try and control our way out of the suffering. There is great, great merit in opening ourselves up to receive when we are in a state of suffering. So the second type of patience that we're cultivating is the acceptance of suffering. That doesn't mean that we don't want to try and change our suffering and get out of it. We have to go to the root of it. So we accept what we are experiencing. We accept that we're getting angry, we're frustrated. There's a continuum. We move to wrath, we move to rage, and we stop ourselves. Go, okay, here I am. I'm in my root delusion of anger, and I have to be aware of it before I can change it. If you can feel it, you can heal it. If you're not feeling it though, you can't heal it. Carl Jung says, whatever you resist will persist. Anger is one of those emotions that kind of hard to not notice when we're experiencing it. Although a lot of people squish it down and it turns into resentment. We push it away and then we drink and we drug over top of it, right? That is not an acceptance of the suffering that we're experiencing. That's a swallowing of it. That's a denial of it. And then the third type of patience that we need to practice is this steadfast assurance in the truth, in the Dharma, in the teachings of all those masters that have come before us. That there is a reason for what we are experiencing, and that we have to continuously reflect on the teachings of the truth of the Dharma, no matter how difficult the situation is. All right? There are always antidotes to the delusions that we're experiencing. The antidote to experiencing anger, jealousy, being coveting, the antidote to fear is the practice of patience. Coming to look at the mind and saying, there are 2 levels of truth. And I spoke about this earlier on. There is the relative plane, and then there is the ultimate plane. And we have to always remember that we have to keep 1 foot in the relative plane and 1 foot in the ultimate in order for patience to be cultivated and practiced. Now, what are the benefits of practicing patience? What do we need to know? What do we need to continue reminding ourselves about regarding patience. 7 benefits. And I'm just going to list them. The first is our practice, our spiritual practice, will deepen and become stronger. So this practice of patience creates a fiber within us in our spiritual development. The second benefit is that our renunciation will deepen and we will be less attached to the mundane and therefore happier. Okay? So we renounce some of the sufferings that we're experiencing or some of the experiences that we're having. And in that renunciation, we're remembering higher powers, we're remembering the other reality, which is that all of that what we're experiencing are atoms and molecules bobbing in space and time, that we're all interconnected. And when we recall this, we relax and we become happier. The third benefit of practicing patience is, believe it or not, your complexion will soften and your appearance will become more attractive generally. And they say, teachers always say, if you want to know people who have in previous lifetimes practiced patience, look at their complexion today. Look at their attractiveness. And you will see that they have previously, in previous lifetimes, practiced patience. And even in this lifetime, the more we practice, the softer the complexion, the less wrinkles, the less fur or brow we have, and inside we become more content and happy. The fourth benefit of practicing patience, the karma that you create in the future will be lessened. And you will have already endured some of the ripening of it in the present. And what that means is that karma is about causes and conditions, and we need a seed always. And we always are holding a seed of anger within us because we're always having these root delusions within us. But if we're practicing patience, we don't allow that seed of anger to blossom. All right? It's sort of, we are preempting the anger to arise because we're watering that seed with patience. The fifth benefit, it will remove arrogance. So we will drop out of this sense of, I know best, I'm right. And again, there's a softening of our personality. Arrogance will be removed. The sixth is that we will develop deeper compassion. All around us, people are living in their delusions. There's anger, there's attachment, there's greed, there's ignorance going on all around us. And as we practice more and more patience, our inner compassion grows for humanity. The seventh benefit is that we will avoid non-virtue and we will rejoice in the virtue that we experience. So as we practice patience, we're going to see scenarios arise in front of us and we're going to go, I'm not going to get angry. We know our mind so well that we can see what's going to ignite us and we choose with awareness to soften, back down, and practice patience diligently. So therefore, all kinds of virtuous karma is being created and our life becomes more and more happy and more virtuous. Now, for my money, those 7 benefits are worth practicing this action of patience. This was one of my root delusions. This particular practice was one that I had to work on over and over and over again. I had a wall of anger. I threw the anger out and people stayed away from me. And then I got isolated and felt very, very alone. And I realized it was me that was keeping people away through my anger. So I had to have inner patience with myself. I had to practice inner patience, inner sense of compassion. And then it cultivated so that I had that experience with others outside of me. So now we're going to end with a little meditation. And I want you to put your pens and paper down again. And slowly close your eyes. Gently, gently come into your heart. In this meditation that we're going to do now is around cultivating compassion. Cultivating compassion for ourselves and for others. So I want you to imagine that there's this full moon in your torso. It's this beautiful, creamy full moon, and the energy within is moving in a clockwise way. It's beautiful, creamy white energy. And the moon sits between your shoulders and sort of your hips, and it's filling your being with this beautiful softness. It's a reflected, creamy white light. I want you to imagine that this creamy white light is a feeling of compassion. Feeling of compassion towards yourself. Being gentle and loving. The creation of kindness towards yourself. I want you to take a moment to stop what you were doing, sit on a chair, and visualize this beautiful full moon being in your torso. And I want you to relax and allow this white light to move through your body, down your limbs, down your legs, down your arms, softening your heart, your throat, and moving up into your head and softening your mind. And now, I want you to imagine sitting in front of you is a version of yourself at an age when you were deeply suffering. And this can be last week, last month, or when you were a child, or perhaps when you were an adolescent. So I want you to visualize right in front of you is yourself, but as a younger person or from last week. What I want you to do now is I want you to breathe in the suffering from you, from that time when you were deeply, deeply in pain. I want you to breathe in that suffering into you who is holding this full moon of compassion. And then I want you to exhale out beautiful white light to the person sitting in front of you who is suffering. And she or he is breathing in that beautiful, creamy, compassionate feeling. And they are calming down. And they exhale out their suffering and pain, and you breathe it in. So you are practicing a circle of giving and receiving. You're breathing in the pain and you're exhaling out beautiful white light, beautiful patience and compassion. And the person sitting in front of you is breathing in that beautiful white light, and they are being calmed by it. And again, you breathe in the suffering, perhaps in the form of black smoke or soot. You're breathing it in, and this full moon in your torso is transforming the poison, absolutely transforming it into loving kindness. And in turn, you breathe out this love, softness, and compassion. So just taking a moment, breathing it in, the pain, and exhaling out love, and support. This meditation is called Tonglen. It's an ancient Buddhist practice. You can do this practice when you're standing in a grocery store lineup, when the person ahead of you is going very, very slowly. You breathe in their pain and you exhale out patience for them. This practice can be done anywhere at any time. So breathing in and exhaling out. So thus ends the teaching on patience. Patience being the armor to create a beautiful being of harmony so that you can go out in the world and be more loving and of higher service. Our next video will be dealing with the practice of joyful effort or perseverance. How we can on a daily basis keep going. There will be obstacles that get thrown at us, and we as spiritual warriors continue forward. I want to thank you for spending this time with me. And I want to remind you that on my website at diamondthought.com, you can go and find out more about 3-hour presentations that I'm giving all over Australia and Canada. You can also find out about retreats that I'm giving. And there's also an emotions and money mindset assessment that you can do, download the answers, and at the end of that, there's a 10-minute meditation free to you as you complete that assessment. Lots of ways for us to interconnect. You can send me an email if you like what you're learning on these videos. And until next time, thank you.
Da da